Second part will be a conversation about the Hatch Billops collection. Congratulations to both of you on the awarding of your honorary doctorates at Emory University. As well as the placement of the Hatch Billops collection at Emory University for posterity. You have the best of all possible worlds, the continuation of the collection in its present stimulating venue in Soho, which is also your home. At the same time, you know that all the materials will be maintained in perpetuity in Emory University. Camille, Weaver's poem provides an auspicious beginning in that it contains seeds of the 5 categories I'd like to span in the course of our discussion, the first of which would be the Hatch Billops collection. The poem makes me think about what it's like to be in the space in Soho that you and Jim have created, where the collection is housed and has been amassed, and the atmosphere, most particularly when interviews are being conducted there, subsequently collected in your long-running Artists and Influence series. I know you told this story a lot, but tell it one more time for us. What made you begin this collection, and how did you and Jim ever figure out how you would define and share the roles of running the collection? It's your turn now.
Mine or Jim's?
Yours.
Okay.
He can talk to it if he wants.
Yeah, well, we started, we've said this a lot of times, but it was because Jim was teaching a class in African American theater, and there were no books and no information, and I was teaching at City College in the art department, teaching ceramics, but I was trying to also get an MFA at the same time and get into the graduate school. And so my project was to document African American artists. And so I started shooting slides and requesting on City College paper, stationery, that would somebody send me their slides, black artists, and I sent one to William Artist, who was a well-known teacher at Mankato, so he thought I was right, and he cussed me out. He did, and it's wonderful. You know, it's all on good paper. That was my first letter. Oh, he called me a bitch and everything else. And I was waiting for him to be at an NCA conference, but he died, so I couldn't. But he died.
National Black Artists.
National Conference of Artists. So anyway, but that's how I started asking artists to send me their slides, and I started shooting. And that's how it started, because it needed to be.
In 1968? 69?
No, 75.
75.
75. So we have thousands of slides now.
One of the people you hired to do interviews. And you would give us a reel-to-reel. I mean, I had a reel-to-reel machine, right, a tape recorder. But I mean, you know, nobody would know what that. Yeah, I have one of my grandmothers over there. But it was a reel-to-reel thing that we were actually given, and I guess you had a grant to interview artists, and I was, or not just artists, because I interviewed the guy who had Michaud, the guy who had the bookstore on 125th Street, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I would just go to them. I interviewed that guy, was it Abrams Hill? The playwright? The playwright. I was about 20-ish. I got to interview people who would soon be dead, who were historic figures, that I didn't know they were historic. You know, and I just go and say, well, what do you have to do with theater? And they, how'd you get this bookstore? And they just open up and start flooding me with the history. And yet I wasn't perfect. I mean, many of the students, well, George Wolfe did interviews for you, right? Many people began their careers doing interviews.
George used to work for us before he became
George Wolfe, the playwright.
He was, my sister was his early mentor in California, in his city culture center. And he came to New York to seek his fortune, and they had sent him $50. And he came by, and we said, you need a job? He said, yeah. And he worked for Hatchfield's, taping, running errands, mixing my glazes for 4 years.
Well, you know
what's famous.
You know what's maddening is that he was so famous, and now he's not. And I don't know how.
Yeah, he's still famous. Yeah, he's still
to us, he's still famous. Okay, what was the last thing he did in 5 years that you could to anybody.
Well,
in this room
it's not
who
the
doesn't know.
same,
Not the same thing.
visibility that was with the public. But if you do,
Oh, yeah, he did he direct plays? He was the public,
He was at the public 12
public
years.
theater, public Shakespeare festival.
Yeah, but if you
And then he just sort of backed down.
yes, but what I'm saying is if everybody gets unfamous, eventually.
Tell me about
You talk about those old dances and everything, they end up there in the nursing home. Come on.
it. That's right, that's right, that's right.
Everybody gets to be there. You ride for that wave and then it's your turn. And they're nice by that time because it's not on, you know. But I went to a lot of parties at George's, you know, he was so hot and everything.
He was
I
so
shot a lot of
hot.
pictures. And so I had his second, the one woman who worked for him, I had her write who was there at the parties, you know, and so now I'm going to give him those pictures.
He's in the theater, and there's nothing hotter than being hot in the theater. But it's also extremely tempting.
Yeah, but when he got money, he came and bought $26,000 worth of art for me.
Oh, that's good.
So,
That's a good segue.